Hey everyone, I'm sorry if the lighting is kind of weird. It's very overcast today, so I'm having to use a combo of artificial and daylight. But anyway, hopefully it's fine and you can see me and it's not weird. But anyway, this is gonna be my December wrap-up, and I'm sort of cheating a little because two of these books I started in December, or in one case in November, and I didn't actually finish them until yesterday, which was the 2nd of January, but, you know, I figure that's close enough. So, anyway, cheating a little there. But, the first book that I read, I think this was the first one, yeah, is Weed That Strings the Hangman's Bag by Alan Bradley. This is the second book in the Flavia de Luce series. I was planning on reading books 2, 3, and 4 in the Flavia de Luce series. That did not happen. So sadly, I'll probably read Red Herring Without Mustard sometime in the first half of this year, and then I'll wait and read I'm Half Sick of Shadows more towards Christmas, but I'll be sure to start it in like November or something so I can be sure of finishing it. But anyway, this one is about, this still has Flavia, obviously, and she is still the same age, I think, and this time a theater troupe comes to town, and one of their number gets murdered, and he is a guy that not many people like, so there are quite a few suspects. And that's not a spoiler because it's on the back of the book, as far as, like, who dies. But, this one I definitely did not like as much as the first one. I still enjoyed it. There were several characters that I really enjoyed. I still love all of the references and Flavia's character. But this one was a bit more slow going because in Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie, the murder happens pretty much straight away, sort of straight away, and also at the same time we're getting all of this introductory information and like background on Flavia's family, so there's no lull, really. But with this one, and I hope this isn't too much of a spoiler, but with this one, the murder happens, like, I want to say a third into the book, maybe even further than that, and that kind of got me a little bit. Like, I felt like there was a bit too much of a lull in the beginning. We were being introduced to the theater troupe and, like, some other people in Bishop's Lacey, which is the village where Flavia lives. So we were getting introduced to a lot of new characters, so all of that part was very interesting, but then I feel like it wasn't enough to really keep the reader busy for as long as it takes for the person to get murdered. So that was a bit disappointing, but I still really enjoyed it, so I would say this maybe gets like a quarter, or somewhere between a quarter and half of a star lower than Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie, and I'm pretty sure I gave Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie 5 stars. So this one, if anything, gets like a 4.5. But I still, as I said, really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to A Red Herring Without Mustard, especially because I think Kate Howe is the one who said, when she was reading that one, that it was her favorite. She either said her favorite of the 3, or just that she liked it a lot better than book 2. So I'm really especially looking forward to that one now. The next thing that I read, I think it's the next thing I read, yes, is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. As you can see, this says I'm halfway through. The reason why is because this contains both Little Women and Good Wives, and sadly I did not have time to get to Good Wives in December, but I'm definitely planning on getting to that this month. But I did read the first one, Little Women, and completely loved it. I loved it as much as the film. In some places I loved it more, in some places I loved it slightly less, but one thing that I did love even more is the character of Theodore Lawrence. I absolutely love Christian Bale's portrayal of him, and from the 90s film. And also, it's weird because most people, when they think Christian Bale, they think Batman, and when I think Christian Bale, I think Teddy or Laurie, because he has both nicknames in the movie, but that's the character that I automatically think of when I think of him. And I love his portrayal, but I love him even more in the book. I want to do like a spoilery review of Little Women, because there are certain things that I want to talk about, the differences between the film and the book, and, you know, things that irked me in the film that don't bother me so much in the book, and things like that. But I'm going to wait until I finish Good Wives, because I've rewatched the film very recently, but I haven't read Good Wives yet. And then other things, I love Beth. Beth is my favorite character in both the book and the film. And pretty much every time she opened her mouth in the book to speak, I wanted to cry. Because her character is so wonderful and lovely, and she's just so sweet. And a lot of people, the issue that they have with this book is that they find it too sugary sweet, or too preachy. And for me, I did find it preachy at times, and that did, sometimes it did quite bother me, but most of the time I really enjoyed it, and it gave me all the same feels as the film, but they were all even stronger. So there were times where I was genuinely crying in the book, and there are times that I genuinely cry in the film as well. And you know, these can be happy tears as well as sad tears. Like, there are some happy tears in here, situations that happened that I actually didn't get from the film. Like, there's no part of the film that makes me cry happy tears, but there were some times in here where I was crying happy tears. So, yeah, anyway, I really loved this, and I can't wait to read Good Wives. Next is, next was The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum. I buddy read this with Amy from Shoutame and Lauren, whose channel I sadly do not know, and I need to find that out still. But, really, we kind of just messaged each other a couple of times while we were reading. Me especially, I like finished it a couple days later than the other two ladies. So we really only messaged each other a couple of times, but we all really enjoyed it. And for me especially, this was incredibly sentimental because I grew up watching the film from 2000. That's The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, and it stars Robbie Benson, which I did not know until, like, I just reminded myself when I looked up the IMDb info for the film, but I forgot that he was in it. And when I was little, I didn't know that, and so when I found that out when I was older, I was like, no wonder I like this film so much, because for those of you who don't know, Robbie Benson is the voice of the Beast in every Beauty and the Beast thing that Disney has ever made, and oh goodness, do I love that voice so much, so much. And I just love Robbie Benson in general. He's a great director, he's a great actor, his voice is amazing, his eyes are like the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen. But anyway, I'm gonna stop gushing about Robbie Benson and just, but anyway, so he voices young Claus in the film, and I loved that film when I was little. I watched it every year that it was on TV, and then around, I would say, the end of high school, so like 2007, 2008, that's when they actually stopped airing the film at Christmas time. I think it was all the way back then, I don't know. But that really made me sad when they stopped that. But anyway, I didn't realize it was a book until I saw it in a used bookstore, and I was like, I need this in my life. And so I've owned it for quite a few years, and I've just gotten around to reading it, and I freaking loved it. I listened to there was a guy on YouTube who narrated it in 3 parts. I think his thing is, his YouTube name is The Voice of Adam, and he did an amazing job with the narration. Like, his narration gave me all the same feels that I felt for the film, and it was just magic, and I loved it, and I loved L. Frank Baum's writing and his descriptions of things, and just the way that he creates the backstory of how Santa Claus came to be is brilliant. He's awesome, and now I have to read the 3 Wizard of Oz books that I have, like, this year. That needs to happen, because he's amazing. So, yes, now I need to buy the film on Amazon and watch it, even though it's not Christmas anymore, but I need to do that now that I have read the book and think it's beautiful. Next up we have 450 from Paddington by Agatha Christie. This is one that I started in December but didn't finish until yesterday, but this is one of the Miss Marple books. It is wonderful. This is one of my favorite of the adaptations that have been in the Miss Marple series, so I knew going into this that I would love it. I buddy read this with Tanya over at ListObsessedReader, and of course, I finished it late. I always finish buddy reads late, but luckily people are usually really sweet about it. But anyway, I really enjoyed the book. There were a couple differences between the book and the adaptation, and one thing in particular I like better in the adaptation, but if I told you what it was, it would ruin it, because it has to do with basically the killer's personality. Yeah, so the killer's personality in the adaptation is quite different, or I should say his or her motives are quite different than in here, but I still really, really loved it. I love the characters. My favorite character, aside from Miss Marple, in this is Lucy Islesborough. She was fantastic. I really like the character of Brian Easley. I like the character of Elspeth McGillicuddy. So this was just a fantastic Marple, and I think it beats Murder at the Vicarage for me, definitely. So, yes, really enjoyed that one. And now I need to go back and rewatch the film. And then last but certainly not least, we have Emma Volume 1 by Kaoru Mori. And I really loved this. This might be my first manga ever, that I've read in entirety, but I feel like I read some D and Angel manga when I was in high school. But anyway, I freaking loved this. This is a Victorian romance manga, set in Victorian England, and it is about a maid called Emma and her very kindly mistress, Miss Kelly. And Miss Kelly used to be a governess, and she had a young man who she was in charge of named William Jones. And when this starts, William Jones is now a grown man. He's probably in his 20s, I would say. And he comes to visit Miss Kelly, and he meets Emma, and these two basically immediately fall in love. And I feel like that's not a spoiler, because it happens within, like, the first couple of pages. And so basically this is great because it just talks about, like, class differences at the time, and, like, can these two end up together? Can they overcome their class differences? And so it's a huge, like, character study, but there are also really funny moments, and it's great about showing you what the Victorian age was like, and it's just freaking awesome, and I love it, and I can't wait to get to volume 2. So yes, those were all the books that I got to in December. Let me know what you read in December, if you read anything Christmassy and fun. Let me know what you think of all the books that I read. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.